Minnesota, and my research project is about the effects of silica nanoparticles to mitigate abiotic stressors, especially stress from harsh weather conditions in bush bean plants. Before I launch into the details of my research, let me first define what a nanoparticle is. A nanoparticle is simply a particle that is between 1 to 100 nanometers in diameter. Its small size compared to its surface area offers an increase in impact per particle, allowing for smaller concentrations of chemicals to have more impact compared to a regular sized particle. Unlike an atom, which is composed of a nucleus surrounded by electrons to balance the charge, a nanoparticle has a central element which is surrounded by ligands, or ions that bind to central elements to stabilize the nanoparticle. For my project, for example, the main element is silicon, which is stabilized by the bonds from the oxygen as represented in this graph shown. Now for some background information. My main goal was engineering a potential solution to solving world hunger. According to the Embrace Relief Foundation, 957 million people of the world were undernourished in 2021 due to food insecurity. A majority of these people, specifically from developing countries, did not have food due to natural disasters damaging their crops. We can't change where these people are living or the climates of these locations, but perhaps we can find a way to reduce the damage crops receive because of that. Thus, I set out looking for potential long-term solutions for making a super plant, specifically looking for a solution that was both economically and environmentally sustainable, and hence being easily accessible to all. A study done in 2016 by Saxena and others has found that increased silicon concentrations have the ability to strengthen cell walls, thus making crops more durable to abiotic stressors. Moreover, in 2019, a study done by Tari and others showed promising results of silica nanoparticles boosting growth and chlorophyll productivity, which inspired me to do a similar experiment to lay more evidence to support these hypotheses. Lastly, because of the size of nanoparticles, any excess silica concentrations that the land is exposed to can be easily reabsorbed into the soil, being environmentally sustainable and reducing the pollution seen with the reuse of current commercial fertilizers. These previous studies bring me to my research question. What are the margins to which silica nanoparticles can reduce the damage to crops caused by harsh weather conditions? My hypothesis is that if the beans take less damage, it will be able to allocate more resources and nutrients to produce and yield, hence increasing the amount of produce per plant and increasing the amount of food available in the world. As mentioned previously, not only will silica nanoparticles be more environmentally friendly compared to current fertilizers, they will also be more economically sustainable as less concentrations of silica would reach the same effect as an entire bottle of commercial fertilizer. Next, my methods. For my experiment, I synthesized nanoparticles to the desired and optimal size for absorption using the 1968 Strober method. I later dispersed them in water so I could use the solution in the water regime of the bean plants. Once the germination period for the beans is complete, I will be exposing the experimental group to different watering regimes to two common weather conditions, heavy and harsh rain and drought seasons, as opposed to the 2019 cucumber study, which tested salinity. For the harsh rain experimental group, I will give 2 times the amount of water compared to the control and water them abruptly as opposed to gradually watering the beans throughout the week. As for the drought experimental group, they will receive 1/2 of the water received by the control. The data that will be collected is the bean plant height, damage to the stem, product yield, and chlorophyll productivity. All plants are grown in a grow tent under a 14-hour light cycle, which limits the amount of unaccounted variables such as pests or damage from animals. So here is a graph of the nanoparticles that I synthesized at the University of Minnesota Nano Center. The optimal size that I was shooting for was 20 nanometers in diameter, as that size seemed to be the most effective in the 2019 cucumber study. However, my synthesized nanoparticles ended up sticking together to form larger particles of 60 nanometers in diameter. While this size is still sufficient for effective results, it may be a source of error. Moreover, another concern that I ran into was the risks involved in working with nano-sized particles. However, keeping the silica nanoparticles diluted in water eradicates those risks and allows for easy storage. As for the interpretation of my results, I currently have no observable data to support my hypotheses or to analyze. However, once I do, I will compare the productivity levels, amount of yield produced, and heights of the plants. If there's a significant increase in the silica nanoparticle plants, then my hypothesis is supported. Assuming my hypothesis is supported, there are a plethora of implications that this study would bring to the scientific world. First, if my hypothesis is supported, then there is a potential solution to maximizing crop yield against unideal weather conditions and climates. This would be an integral step in reducing the amount of world hunger. With less people hungry, we can allocate more resources and people to other scientific fields and make other groundbreaking discoveries. Furthermore, this study will open the doorway to larger scale applications of nanoscience. I have noticed that we studied the effects of nanoparticles on individual cells, but there are very few studies on the effects of nanoparticles onto entire organisms. If we can strengthen plants to withstand volatile weather, what else could nanoparticles do on this scale? To what organisms? To us humans? The possibilities are endless. So that concludes my presentation. Here are my main references, and thank you for listening.